Welcome into the blockchain basement, my fellow crypto travelers. This weekend brought some major fireworks to the charts, with Bitcoin finding support at a very, very key level. And also, altcoins got bludgeoned over the head. Is it time to sell these alts? Well, we're going to look at the key metrics and really what the market's saying right now to make that decision. Also, I'm going to expose the long-term goal of what's going on with this crypto adoption and how the government is actually going to use this against the freedom of our dollar when it all is said and done. Folks, welcome to the show. This is where we peel back the layers of the onion of life as we know it and what we're seeing with this institutional adoption of crypto. I got my man in the background here, Mr. Isaac. Isaac,
good morning, sir.
You got some bumps and bruises from some 12-year-olds this weekend here.
12-year-olds. Yes,
we went paintballing, folks. We make sure to follow us. This is where I tried to capture a little bit. I have a little bit of
GoPro
footage from it. There's me and Isaac out there. We went out there for like 5 or 6 hours straight. So hell of a workout. Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
We'll do it again.
What's that?
We'll do it again soon.
We should, man. I mean, it's a great way to get a good sweat in. As Isaac, you've been paintball and airsofting before. It's just a great way to figure out kind of angles of life. The angles of life matter, folks. I will say it that way. Make sure to follow me there. And this is where you can also catch all my trolling. Here's my post right as Donald Trump dropped the bunker busters. More. We have a lot of chaos breaking across the markets. And, with that, I know that there's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt within the minds of the average crypto holder out there. And I do want to just leave you with this message. A lot of uncertainty is out on the markets. We're going to be looking at some key levels that I'm actually going to move into more trades in the show here today. But, I just got to give you guys this message. It matters quite a bit.
I think a lot of you need to hear this. It doesn't matter who you are, okay? It doesn't matter what you do for a job, okay? It doesn't matter if you are a freaking billionaire or if you're the poorest homeless person on the street. It doesn't matter if you are conventionally attractive or if you're like freaking ugly as all get out, okay? It doesn't matter if you're fat or skinny or tall or short. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Like, none of that matters, okay? Because at the end of the day, you can still catch these hands, dog. Do not fuck with me, okay? I will fold you like clean laundry. And by that, I mean I will ball you up and throw you on the ground until I wash your again. Okay? I will fold you hot dog style, hamburger style. I will fold you origami, dude. I don't give a don't fuck with me, dude.
Oh, okay. Just some words of encouragement for everyone out there. Honestly, this guy makes me crack up all the time. If it was easy to make massive gains in crypto, everyone would do it, right? I think leaning into the danger of the current macroeconomic and geopolitical environment offers us an immense opportunity. I will say it that way. We're going to be looking at the charts. I'm still sitting on a great bag. Isaac, you paid a little bit of trading tuition this weekend. Okay.
Just a tad bit. I may or may not have been liquidated, but that's okay.
I'm glad that you're out there learning these lessons with a small amount of money, right? That's you go in there, you learn, you figure out how to trade with a small amount of money. Over the years, you start to get in the groove. Now, where we're at right now, let's take a look at liquidity charts before we get the show popping off here. I did see a liquidity level earlier this morning. I was sitting at about $100,300, but it's actually started to vanish. Liquidity right below us at 101,391, going down to $101,000 flat. So I'm going to keep an eye on this as we go through the show here. Currently, the price is trying to roll back. So this is that main or earlier morning liquidity level. It's starting to disappear. Now, I'm not seeing the entry point signals that I need, but as we go through the show or later on through the day, if I do see this momentum wave come to the bottom side and we see a trigger wave like this one presented right here, that's where I can make that move and make a little bit of a scalp move. Because you can see these things play out all the time the same way. You get the VWAP with the trigger in front of it. The momentum wave comes to the bottom side, prints the green dot on the 15-minute, and then you get the entry point. And if you played this out, just this general recipe from the moment of this print, you could grab 1.3% in a scalp fashion, protect the profits, make sure it's a safe trade, and see if it cooks on up to the upside. The landscape of crypto is not looking too bad this morning, but that's just because it's crawling out of the trench that we fell into this weekend, folks. We had a very, very fast moving sell-off off of geopolitical news of the Strait of Hormuz being talked about, being shut down by Iranian leadership. We do have tankers turning around, and we have some context to really how much of world trade moves through the Strait of Hormuz. It's not a small amount by any means, and this announcement was a trade-related announcement, very much like the Liberation Day trade war. But the movement of it actually, along with the bunker buster, right? The movement of this came back down and actually was surprisingly bullish, where we ended up finding that bounce point from. We go to the 4-hour here and zoom in just a bit. This is actually an old school spot where it was resistance short term here in May. It was also resistance here in 2025 February. Very, very interesting spot for the price to come back down to, and honestly set up for a pretty good bullish structure still. And there's some levels below us that we could absolutely come back down to in this, lower shelf here between $94,000 and $96,000. So I'm keeping an eye on this, but honestly, it just gives me more opportunity to buy more Bitcoin, get better trade setups. Where the markets are sitting right now, everyone is shivering in their boots. Fear index is at 37 right now. We are moving to the downside in terms of this. Max fear moment was in Liberation Day, where you had the double bottom level, but essentially up here at the 30 on fear is where I could see this kind of bottoming out just from a structural chart perspective. So let's get into all the news here. It's just a crazy day. The day started off with freaking pudgy penguins hitting the opening bell. Absolutely nuts. This is the image of a freaking penguin hitting the pudgy. I saw you almost throw the pudgy through the wall.
Where's the picture? Pull up that picture. I want to see
that
picture. You see that little fuck with the bucket hat on? Pull up the picture real quick.
Where is the picture? I gotta find it here.
I don't know. I thought it was on Pudgy Penguin's actual page.
Well, I'll go to Luca. Maybe Luca Nets has. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here's the picture.
Oh yeah. As I was saying before, Drew, you're fucked when the LA Vape Cabal is at the NASDAQ with Van Eck ringing the damn bell. Look at these two base guys on the right. The Pudgy Penguin, cool, whatever. Look at the guy on the left. He just got off of a 72-hour meth high, and he's here at the NASDAQ.
Oh, Lord.
Time to ring the bell. Anyways,
oh,
that's
my
crash
God.
for today.
Yeah, I wonder if
the
the Pudgy price moved off of this. Pudgy is the meme coin that's a kind of connected to, it's Pengu, is the actual ticker. Price not so great, right? I mean, it pumped at like 7% today, so there's something. Maybe I make a little move because I got out of this thing like on its death spiral downwards. But I mean, they're ringing the bell at Wall Street. They might have some ins that we don't see in the future. I have these damn Pudgy Penguin things like this guy. This guy is cool, Isaac. I know it's total vape cabal action, but look, he's got the Boogaloo. He's got the Boogaloo shirt on, I have a bunch of these damn, they're like NFT assets that came with them. And I got to say hello to the chat here real quick. We got K-Jam. Drew loves Indian food. I do love Indian food, but Indian food doesn't love me. H. Bardano, can you talk about Palantir spying on Americans for talking bad about Israel? Talk about it all the time, baby. Talk about it all the time. And, in this context of this geopolitical shitstorm kicking off, why can't I dislike both sides of the argument? Alexander Dree, good morning. DCA and Pray. Circle almost $300. That's where the real alt season is. Circle is absolutely going ballistic right now. Go check out that chart. I have it loaded up already. And this is Max Payne because I haven't been able to get any of the shelves of price action. And Circle hit, I think it did hit $300 this morning. Absolutely going ballistic. This is something that I have to talk about later on in the show, kind of the dark long-term goal of how crypto is being captured to kick the can down the road of the current monetary system. And Bitcoin was designed to fight back against this and to give people the power of self-custody and proof of work, proof of energy spent, and a cost to the actual value of transaction. This hybrid system that we're seeing right now is really, in my opinion, probably making Satoshi roll over in his grave. And I'll tell you why. World War 208 drew a Funko Pop collector. What is a Funko Pop, Isaac? Please tell me what a Funko Pop
Couldn't
is.
tell you what a Funko Pop is.
Is it those little like big head things? Hold on, let me see if I have any. I see those things all the time. Where is this? I don't think, to answer your question, no, but I probably have a couple of them around there. Yeah, so really the design of crypto, it is here to stay. I do feel confident in the ecosystem, maybe even altcoins, good altcoins. I think, especially, I'm going to talk about Chainlink today. You know, there's a lot of people asking me, should I sell Chainlink? Yada, yada, yada. Going through the max doubt moments in our minds. I'm going to be talking about this, but really what we're seeing here, geopolitical tensions hitting a level that we haven't seen in many, many decades here in the United States. The reason to print hitting levels that we haven't seen really ever in the United States history of our banking infrastructure, unrealized losses, hitting levels that really, you know, I mean, they make me very queasy about leaving my money in banks. But Arthur Hayes is talking about, he's a BitMEX co-founder, Arthur Hayes, saying that Bitcoin's dip below 100K is just the money printers revving up to do their patriotic duty. Pretty lame. That's a patriotic duty to print our dollar to the moon and make inflation go hyperbolic. That's not a great patriotic duty in my mind. He calls the current weakness temporary, reinforcing Bitcoin's safe haven status amid monetary debasement. Now, this is what we know, is that the monsters behind Jekyll Island, behind the Federal Reserve, they are going to print us into oblivion. There is no stopping this. It doesn't look like there is any short-term, 10-year, 20-year outlook of actually bringing the United States government debt down. Really, what there looks to be an intention of is expanding the military infrastructure and continuing to back the dollar with war. Now, if we can implement Bitcoin into the basket of currencies that we back our dollar with, that'd be great. It's just, when I thought about this a long time ago, I was like, there's going to be some sort of balance between gold and Bitcoin and commodities that can actually back this. But honestly, I'm at the point where I don't even think the gold reserves are in Fort Knox at this point. So that, you can discuss and argue about day in and day out, but honestly, there is no reason why we wouldn't change the paper valuation of our gold that we're sitting on from the current $10 billion, which is what the current Fort Knox holdings should come out to about, up to where they are now with gold being $3,400 an ounce at around $888 billion. Nearly $1 trillion that they could add to the balance sheet to be like, hey, the debt to holdings ratio isn't that bad, right? They're not doing it. So it's just very aggravating. Yeah. Okay. I love this title. And this is the government scandal exposed. They're capturing the infrastructure of crypto and stable coins to further the fiat Ponzi system. Anthony Pompliano talked about a $1 billion merger he's also launching with ProCap Financial. It's a Bitcoin native financial firm that's going public via the CCM ticker SPAC with $750 million raised for the Bitcoin Treasury and services. More Wall Street movements. Here's this dude excited about bringing all the Wall Street heads in for auxiliary crypto plays. In the market structure, I know it's really weird to see this Wall Street institution come up while altcoins are still sleepy. But this dude, Blockstream CEO Adam Back, talking about it's really Treasury season. Treasury season being the new alt season for speculators. He's talking about dumping altcoins into either Bitcoin or Bitcoin Treasury plays. I'll say the Bitcoin Treasury plays are not looking bearish in their structure. Bitcoin is not looking bearish in its structure. In fact, the overall structure of Bitcoin can remain bullish even with a pullback to $95,000. This is Tech Dev, and he's very, very bullish on the macro. He's talking about a $95,000 pullback on Bitcoin would still make sense structurally for Bitcoin's bull market price action. But then talking about that $170,000 mark being closer than we think. And I just find it interesting that he's coming up to that 170K expectation for Bitcoin's price over this, market structure. But a lot of I wouldn't be surprised if this is a extended, longer grind to the upside for Bitcoin's market, with how normalized Bitcoin's becoming to Wall Street with these treasury plays. Now, Dan Gambardella is talking about crypto survived a ton, and we're still printing higher lows. The real bull market hasn't even started yet, with the global M2 increasing. Rate cuts, we do have slated 2 rate cuts this year from the Federal Reserve. I believe it was September and October, if I'm not mistaken. I think one of those is slightly off, but I know we only have 2 25 base point cuts expected this year. Quantitative tightening winding down by force. They have to implement quantitative easing. Now, it's probably not going to be the $1,200 checks, airdropped to the people of America by any means. It's going to be back-end deals, bailout deals for the institutions. Pro-crypto legislation is here, and altcoin ETFs are coming. The dollar's falling and institutions are buying the fear. All of these things are happening at the same time, and we still have a generally bullish Bitcoin market structure. So I am still of the opinion that we are looking good in terms of, I don't think in my heart of hearts that this is a double top similar to this one. I think it's a much differently designed 4-year cycle. And tangibly speaking, with how wide the Pi cycle top indicator is, and with how much money is just consistently flowing through ETFs, I don't think that this bell is going to ring the same way it did in markets past, where we can just easily out trade the likes of Larry Fink and Howard Lutnick. Really, when the tiny hats are buying during the week is when I like trading Bitcoin. And then I leave the weekends alone, because kind of Asia, the other side of the Bitcoin market takes control of these things and usually flushes us back down to the downside, just as we saw this weekend. So there's a reason why I leave those days alone. Now, this is a post from TechDev talking about the steep part lying ahead for Bitcoin, and just the general design of this looks much, much different. It's a slow slope to the downside in terms of RSI and kind of the business cycle, while Bitcoin's price is just grinding to the upside. Makes me think that there's actually an extension to the cycle that we're seeing right now, and players like Coinbase coming in. This is Coinbase Duck, which is a great account to follow. This is a very interesting take. The next wave of volume for Base will probably come through wrapped coin on-chain equity. Wrapped coin stocks making their way into the crypto ecosystem. It's fairly important to follow the policy and regulation development from Coinbase and their work in DC. But the most important thing to take out of this is now we have wrapped coin that can make it on-chain and start flowing in to Base ecosystem plays, which actually isn't a bad thing. Not a bad thing for our bags by any means, but a very insightful prediction from Coinbase Duck about these wrapped coin shares actually having access on chain. Here is coin stock right now. Again, very, very alt seasoning design, but this is a stock. This is a traditional market play into crypto. And, coin came out very, very highly valued, dipped into extreme lows in the, sub $100 range, and is starting to look like a Solana chart. So this liquidity, this price action now is going to have access on chain. And the landing pad for it, in my opinion, and Coinbase Duck's opinion, is likely going to be the Base ecosystem, because that is the current ecosystem of Coinbase and Base that has been rolled out to these institutions. This is the thesis behind why we've been so interested in the Base plays. And I think it's really what we see on the Base ecosystem in crypto is the calm before the storm. So I do have the bags packed in that realm. But we got to be mindful that, when we see these projects moving up against Bitcoin, that is the Gedimus Maximus in me coming out and yellowing them out into Bitcoin and Tether to tangibly change my life. Now, Circle has flipped USDC in market cap as well. So the Wall Street version, the representation of the Circle company, is now more valuable than the literal market cap of their stable coin, which got them to where they are right now. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. This is, I mean, there's no other way to put it, that this is a completely new design to crypto. Stable coins are making up a huge chunk of this market cap increase. And we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at this. Is why DeFi, institutional landing pads like the base ecosystem matter so much when we're looking for this elusive alt season. This is DeFi Investor talking about this. What we asked for was alt season, but instead what we got is Bitcoin dominance breaking 66%, a new war in the Middle East, several presidential meme coins, and stocks surging while crypto goes down. Now we are having that little bounce right now. I do got to check in on the price of Bitcoin real quick to see if we have any washouts, any chance I could get a on-air entry point right now. So we are starting to move down, get that momentum wave to the downside. Let's hop on over to the liquidation levels. Bam. And this is how I ease the boring side of my alt bags, by actively trading. We're right on the edge of washing out this liquidity below us. It goes down to about $101,000 flat.
You
So
are banned.
now, what happened there?
I did what I must. I did
Okay.
what I must.
All
By
right.
Robert. See you soon.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, was it Robert Cosine? And he's only able to make it in here for like 2 seconds. You take him out. Unbelievable.
You should have wiped his mouth then, god damn it.
Now, the mindset that we're in right now in cryptos, it's clearly here to stay. But, you know, the beatdown is real for the altcoin holders out there. This is Flawless with some great words. These market conditions will drain the resolve of many traders. If you're feeling it, know that you're not the only one. But what separates the men from the boys is the ability to push through that feeling. Keep working hard, keep grinding until one day soon it all pays off. Now, I really got to emphasize this. I appreciate False's notes on this, because if it was easy to print money with the most, volatile speculative asset class on the planet, everyone would do it. It's not easy. You have to buy lows, sell highs, and look through the absolute chaos that's going on. What's wrong with my cardio? You know what?
It might be an old
cardio is. I could do more. Honestly, like that's kind of all I do anymore. I don't know. I got some good endurance.
Your picture from in the Discord is probably pretty old.
Which one?
I don't know.
Oh, I mean, probably at the gun range. That's when I was just. I go through fluffy stages where I like to add a little bit of weight. Now, this is the main news from Cointelegraph. Just in case we missed the weekend headlines, we had $1 billion liquidated in 24 hours when Bitcoin fell below that 100K mark. Honestly, is around like 1.5 billion. Central Asia and the first Solana economic zone launched in Kazakhstan. Jan 3's Samson Mao is going to meet with French lawmakers to discuss Bitcoin adoption. Sailor hinting at another top blast of Bitcoin. God bless. Dude's probably going to cause a major unwind at some point with this leveraged, fiat dollar loan buys of Bitcoin. I mean, unhinged, absolutely unhinged. Texas Governor Abbott has signed a Bitcoin reserve bill, SB 21, into law. So we have a Bitcoin reserve coming to the 8th largest GDP on the planet, which is Texas, through Governor Abbott. And all of this is happening. Like, he literally signed the bill right as we nuked down to $98,000. So crazy to see. Chair of China's National Institution of Finance and Development, Li Yang, says that stablecoins extend U.S. dollar power. Bam, hit the nail on the head. This is the chair of China realizing, wait a minute, hold up, something ain't right. The United States is rolling out this stablecoin legislation, and they're going to be able to extend the U.S. dollar power by using stablecoins to buy Treasury bonds with. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to expand the ecosystem of stablecoins, and the U.S. government now potentially opening up the opportunity for the Treasury to get involved with stablecoin production. So then they have another degree of separation between, we're not printing dollars. No, we're just using stablecoin buys to buy out Treasury bonds, and then we can extend that life cycle of the fiat dollar even that much further. China's realizing it. It's the whole next level of, kind of the fiat Ponzi system. And Cardone Capital, $4.7 billion company. Cardone Capital added 1,000 Bitcoin and plans on 3,000 more Bitcoin this year. We're going to see more real estate agencies kind of swap out, of this, high interest rate environment and these fluctuating interest rates. And Bitcoin is looking more and more enticing. Like those kind of companies, when they see Bitcoin at $100,000, it's more enticing than if they see it jackknifing at $15,000 to $30,000. It's actually kind of inverse, where they see Bitcoin is more here to stay, and we're going to see larger investment firms and real estate firms moving into these Bitcoin treasury strategies to hold up the back end of their just general, design of their company here. God, I wonder what fat picture was in the Discord to me, because I did have some thick pics. Like when out there shooting with Isaac, remember that? When we went shooting, I was thick. I'm not gonna lie. I was a thick boy. FTX lawyers have rejected 3AC's $1.5 billion bankruptcy over the weekend, saying that it should be dismissed. They argue that Three Arrows Capital losses came from their own trading decisions and withdrawals and not FTX actions. So a lot of blaming. Who's to blame for the big unwind still ongoing in courts, while the damage has already been done to the average retail investor. Now, speaking of damage done to the average altcoin investor, Chainlink has been driving me crazy. Let's take a look at this. So Chainlink, I think it's fallen a couple of spots. It's at number 15 right now, sitting here writhing and sloshing around $12, $11. In general, the structure is still there. We do have to look at this a little bit closer on TradingView to make sure that structure is still there for the general higher lows. Okay, so we are there. We still have a general higher low structure in place. That's great. That's not bad. With this weekend's massive announcement of the Strait of Hormuz being shut down, fear came in and really punched the price down. I think we hit just about $11 flat, maybe a little bit under that. Chainlink is probably one of those maddening altcoins out there to hold, because all of the regulatory clarity is there. All of the use case of Chainlink is pretty clear. And this post is a great post in relevance to that. So this is Bubba Fox talking about Chainlink being mandated as a standard set forth by the U.S. government with the Proof of Act. The bill provides the creation of an industry standard for these backed assets. Chainlink about to become a household name in the next few years. And Sergey will be mentioned in the same vein as Elon, Steve Jobs, and Bezos. According to Bubba Fox, we have long exposés from Crypto Show. He's kind of focuses on the CCIP setup of it. He's talking about decentralization being truth and universal connectivity. I feel the same as they do right now, but I'm also here to make money. So when it comes to Chainlink, I don't feel like actively continuing to buy Chainlink because my bag is already built. If someone comes to me, they're asking what are like the most institutionally adopted crypto altcoins out there. Chainlink is the first. It's on the top of my tongue when it comes to that. Ondo right behind that, Aerodrome, Morpho, things within the base ecosystem. Time will tell if this proof of act can go through, but I really do feel like Chainlink in its current setup of how many avenues of Web3 communication to Web2 it's already got built. I do agree with this, that Chainlink will be the default trust layer of the internet. It's just a matter of time and a matter of willingness to hold through the painful parts of altcoin season, which is really been quite elusive for about a year now. People have been looking for that big move. Now, here's another big move. Charleston White took out one of the Island Boys. Island Boys got punched.
Oh, God.
Charleston White, have you followed the lore of Charleston White and the Island Boys?
I have not, but I do. I'm very
Charleston White was like, your baby looks like he was just like going after the Island Boys and his kid. And he was kind of low blows. Charleston White just being a total prick. They got into the ring. Watch how this ended up.
Oh, y'all about it. I'm about it.
I can't see. He can't see out his. Oh! Come on.
Look at Island Boy. The round's not over.
Come on.
30 seconds.
Island Boy just kind of is like giving up. He just tells
Let's
the
go
ref,
up.
I'm done. I'm done.
Giving up.
One hit.
What
That's all it
a
took.
pussy.
God. I mean, there's like a few decent ringers there, but like, come on, man. That was not a knockout punch. He's just the Island Boys. I got to make fun of them, but also sing their song sometimes. It's a catchy song. It's a catchy song. Now, here's China and something catching fire for them. The property market in China has lost $18 trillion since 2021, surpassing the total losses suffered by the United States during the global financial crisis. $18 trillion in pullback for their real estate market. And Coinbase Duck highlighting his story about a friend of his bought an apartment in 21 for about $2 million USD, paid 25% as a down payment, and now the apartment is worth 45% less. The lesson here is real estate is also leverage. You can pay 25% down, borrowing 75% of that note you just leveraged 3x. The apartment was generating $50K in rent a year, making it a price to earn ratio of 40, too expensive, low return, and valuations matter. Futures outlook is the world is having less kids, less demand for housing, and growth trajectory matters. 2 million is 10 years of his salary before taxes. Never make such a big purchase for an investment. If things go wrong, it erases your net worth for about 10 years, and you don't have many 10 years segments of your life working as an average middle class. Some of these knowledge for the equity and the crypto investing too. Stay on the winning side. Just be careful out there. You know, the dynamics of real estate, it's easy to just YOLO into fix and flips, and that's going to be the way to print money for, years on end, has really kind of changed my mindset of, preferring to move into rentals with my profits has absolutely changed. With insurance rates skyrocketing, tax rates skyrocketing, and really, I feel like there is a degree of risk that I'm not willing to take with putting a renter in a property that I own, and that, money that I've worked so hard, trade so hard for, and then I could basically have a flat line or a negative year if they trash my house. Just feels a little bit awkward to me. So, this is what happened this weekend. Coinbase is now moved to purchase the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Coinbase out here just looking to buy up.
Right.
I'm just kidding about this, obviously, but the Strait of Hormuz has, been talked about being shut down. A ship was set to cross the Strait of Hormuz, making a 180-degree U-turn at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is this weekend, minutes after the Iranian parliament approved closing the strait. Now we're starting to see, 6 super tankers carrying crude oil have performed U-turns as well this morning over the last 24 hours. This is breaking news. They are, having to shut down and turn around at the Strait of Hormuz. And this on top of the U.S. Embassy in Qatar urging American citizens to shelter in place until further notice. We have national terrorism advisory systems going off for the Department of Homeland Security here in the United States, warning against interior motives that might be carried out by what we've talked about for quite some time here, sleeper cells in the United States. So just be wary of this thing. Now, oil isn't showing that we are going hardcore into war, but top analysts say that if the Strait of Hormuz gets shut down in total, oil could spike hard. Now, about 20% of oil moves through the Strait of Hormuz globally. It is not a small trade area. Citibank prices, I've seen from Citibank jumping to $90 a barrel with major export cuts. And JP Morgan says and reiterated that the full closure could push oil to $120 to $130 a barrel. As things sit right now, they're a little bit calmer, but this is a pinch point for global trade that we have to keep an eye on. It's not the most popular or biggest buzzword thing to talk about. I completely understand, especially here in crypto, but these movements absolutely do impact our bags in a very tangible way, as we saw this weekend with this punch down too. So where we're sitting right now, $101,500. We're getting close to that moment here, Mr. Isaac. We're getting close to that liquidity washout. Let's set this bad boy right here. Right about, and that's actually an interesting spot too, because it's a shelf that we created this morning. Maybe I'll be able to actually get this trade live and fired off while we're on the show here. Now, this is getting weird. The political timeline's getting weird. Trump comes out this weekend, said, make Iran great again. Not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Miga. So kind of there is something to think about. Like in the 1970s, Iran was not stoning women who didn't have veils over their head to death. There was a little bit of, a more sound and put together society in the 1970s. I really wish that we would be focusing on our own country more so. I really, I reserve the right to dislike both the Bibi regime and the Iranian regime. I think that these are two different battlefronts. One is monetary battlefront with the design of usury and what we all know that, the up and coming of Bitcoin to take control out of central banks' hands. I think that's a battle for one side. And then the kinetic battle that I focus here on in America, because I just want my kids to have a safe upbringing and a good environment to live in, is honestly, I don't have to like Iran. I don't think that Iran is meant well for us in the United States. They've tried to shut down our grid over and over again over the past few decades. And it would be hell on earth here in the United States if they had accomplished their goals. And China is in the background supporting and hoisting up this conversation. Now, China did come out this morning. I will say this. China came out this morning and said, Iran, please, for the love of God, calm down. Don't shut down that trade route. They are saying that in the background. But on the other hand, China came out last week and gave a research overview of how they could actually shut down our grid. So this is causing worldwide cautions to come out from the state government, travel.state.gov here. U.S. State Department issued a worldwide caution for U.S. citizens abroad. They are giving some internal warnings here as well. This is Tom Homan talking about Iran and the threat within the United States. Let's have a listen to this.
Can you assess that issue particularly? How many Iranians are in the country that are in sleeper cells trying to do bad to America right now?
Well, look, you and I talked about this many times. I said the last 4 years, my biggest concern was this open border was the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. So I pulled numbers this morning just from a CBP under Joe Biden. There was 1,272 nationals of Iran released in the country between OFO and the Border Patrol. And you compare that to the Trump administration, zero. Right, zero releases. And right now, because of President Trump's leadership, we have the most secure border in my lifetime, most secure border in the history of this nation. So we have a secure border. That was President Trump's big win on securing this nation. So we're not releasing people in this country. Special interest aliens aren't crossing that border undetected. But under Joe Biden, we had over 10 million people cross that border. But my biggest concern from day one, beyond the fentanyl, beyond the sex trafficking women and children, were the 2 million known gotaways. Over 2 million people crossed that border. We don't know who they are, where they came from, because they got away, because Border Patrol is so overwhelmed with the humanitarian crisis that Biden created that over 2 million people crossed the border and got away. That is my biggest concern, and that's what created the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen.
And this is something, I don't want to be hyperbolic. I don't think that WW3 means that we're going to see mushroom clouds here in the United States, but there are, over the past, half a decade, millions of people that have been coming from China, have been coming from Iran, from, all kinds of, areas that are outwardly opposed to the United States. Now, maybe it's going to be a situation like we slightly did see, and my pops was reminding me about this when we were in the Cold War kind of hardcore spot with Russia. There's a lot of those, what you call sleepers came into America. They realized, man, this place is fucking awesome. And then they ended up not activating. But that, Russia was and is a Christian-based nation. It is a much different conversation when you're talking about Shia, Shia rather than Sunni. Sunni is kind of like the peaceful version of that side of the water. Now, Shia, not so much. And in aggregate, these extremists represent a small representation of the larger context, but it doesn't take too many percentile points of a given religion or people subsect to make a movement here. this is something we got to keep an eye on. Now, other things that I'm keeping an eye on are, I heard Trump talk about we obliterated their nuclear proliferating abilities in Iran. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that they've already got them and we're trying to stop even more of them from being made. But there are reports coming out that Maxar satellite imagery showed unusually high number of trucks moving in and out of the Fordo nuclear site just hours before the United States strikes, potentially hinting that someone got a tip over to Iranian officials about the strike coming in before it happened here. This is some satellite imagery showing a good amount, a large, kind of not miles long, but a good amount of movement trucks, logistics trucks coming in on the 19th and 20th of June. Now, the question remains, did these trucks get in and get the needed materials out of Fordo before it was taken out? Or was this just a generalized move from the Iranian officials here? This is potentially, this is unconfirmed, but this is being talked about being the actual visual of this bomb going off. Massive explosion here. Now, there's a lot of disinformation that came out, but the landscape does look similar. The size of explosion does look similar to what we'd experience from one of those bunker busters. But time will tell if they have gotten those materials out of there from the Iranian government here. Isaac, there's a lot of war news going on.
There's a lot of war news.
Are you getting sketched out about the military, or is this just kind of, re-emphasize your wish to go in?
I've not talked to you about it before, and I've talked to a bunch of other people who are like asking me if I still want to go in based on all the stuff that's going on right now. It hasn't changed anything for me. I'm still gonna go either way. But when I talk about, people are talking about is there going to be a draft? I don't think there's going to be a draft because we currently have over 4 million people in the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's going to be a draft. But it hasn't swayed anything for me as of like fear wise of like not going in or being scared to go in. Right. I'm still going to go in. I'm not.
You bring up a good point about the reserves are still well bolstered in the U.S. And honestly, like, I'm not worried about America, the country in aggregate, being invaded in like a Red Dawn moment by Russians or Chinese or anything like that. More so, my concern comes about the grid and, kind of what we might experience on the grid. Because we already, have experienced some stresses on the grid previously with this balance of solar and wind and, all this stuff coming together and trying to work together. Good looking at World War. It looks like that image might actually be from Syria. So I'll make sure to follow with that because I really want to, see. There's been a lot of disinformation like, oh, the bomb didn't do anything. It's not only meant to change the top end of soil. It's really, what I saw from satellite imagery. It looks like Fordo has been collapsed and kind of sunken in now.
It's a bunker buster. It goes like literally in the ground and blows up the interior on the inside. It's not meant to.
Absolutely.
Mushroom cloud.
With this heat, it doesn't have to be stresses on the grid from Iran either. We are seeing some stresses. PJM Interconnection, the largest grid operator in the U.S., has issued a level 1 emergency alert due to forecasted high temperatures and a surge in electricity demands. This alert follows a period of hot weather impacting the region. Just another reason to have your freaking generator set up. Where's the Poon Buster? Unbelievable, Crypto Stevo. Unbelievable. There's a lot of reasons to have a generator around your house. It doesn't have to be that you're worried about, a literal bomb going off over your house. Like natural disasters are honestly more likely than that. And this in North Dakota here, I got to check in with the Gramps and the Grandma here. This was imagery from Enderlin, North Dakota, as a tornado struck. Another reason I just got hit by a tornado. Look at this craziness. This is absolutely nuts. So Jesus. This is not the actual tornado itself. I believe what you call this a wall cloud. Tornado was internal to this. My pops was telling me quite a few of these tornadoes came around the kind of Fargo, North Dakota area. And I got a lot of family out there. So this was crazy seeing. I got to give the Gramps and Grandma a call, make sure they're all right. I know that they're all right, but just want to hit them up, make sure they're doing well. And this is why, there's just a bunch of reasons to be prepared. And especially, there's a great shout out from Jeff at Blockchain Report. I'm old enough to remember the original Operation Midnight Hammer. This was the Pelosi husband and his weird male escort that was found in their house trying to attack Pelosi male version with a hammer in the middle of the night. Still got a lot of questions about that situation. Still got a lot. Like, why is he in his underwear? You know, why are they like kind of standing here just like holding this? Like, that's very weird moment. But there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt. What I am sure of is that crypto is here to stay. Bitcoin is my way to fight back against central banks and general usury that's got our U.S. government in the debt situation it is currently. They're going to be trying to implement this and using stable coins in this Genius Act to hoist up fiat currency and moving the power of printing not out of the Federal Reserve's hands in total, but they're going to be able to create it to a degree with these stable coin avenues and having stable coin companies buying up treasuries to extend the lifespan of the US dollar. That's the way I see it. You can tell me if I'm wrong. If let me know what you think in the comments. If stable coins are some way to bring monetary responsibility to the markets, I actually kind of see quite the opposite in my personal opinion here. On the Bitcoin chart, it looks like we're starting to get that liquidity washout. That'd be real fun to be able to fire off a trade generally. If I don't get what I want on Mondays, I leave this thing alone. And what I want is liquidity washouts to happen and good, juicy entry points on longs come about. Oh, man, there's another. See, this liquidity is piling up here. We're starting to cut through that level that we figured we would. Going to stop here. Now the big question is, can we cut off another $300 to be able to put that position in? Man, wild times here. Now, I wanted to start this Monday out just getting a good feel for where the markets are. A lot of news had broken over the weekend. And with this, the uncertainty, the doubt, just make sure you are out here always thinking in terms of how much Bitcoin can I make from this move, or how much Bitcoin does this particular purchase cost. And keep your crypto, your Bitcoin on a cold storage device for the love of God, especially in this current environment. This is Arculus cold storage. Comes in this badass little container here. You get a hard metal wallet that comes with it. And it uses 3-factor authentication to make sure that it's you that's actually taking the crypto out of the cold storage device. You can use code BASE10. We got a link in our description. And also, if you're looking at the options and the advantages, the tax advantages of an IRA setup for your Bitcoin and or altcoins, make sure to give some support to Bitcoin IRA. They do a great job over there. You can get a real person on the phone by calling 877-936-7175. Tell them the Blockchain Basement sent you. Again, it's 877-936-7175. Huge shout out to our main partners and sponsors of this show, Bitcoin IRA and Arculus cold storage device, man. Just take advantage of these things. You get some great tax advantages here, and you can get someone on the phone to experience what those advantages would be, especially if you're holding alts that you're looking to swap out inside of an IRA setup. Isaac, it's been a great day. Snackadelic, I want to answer this real quick. All right. So, Drew, what is your view on ADA currently? Sentiment has been freaking shitty last couple of months, over 85% down from all-time high. So, Cardano, I really feel is if not it is one of the most decentralized proof of stake systems on the planet. Now, I know I'm not morally opposed to shorting BTC Kilgannon. I'm actually, I'm starting to mess around with it a little bit and do little trade setups here. Just not currently in that environment where I can giga short a lot of times. I'm generally bullish right now, so I look for washouts to put the longs in. My viewpoint of ADA is I'm still holding it, and ADA has shocked me in markets past. I know this market is institutionally different than last markets, but I do think that ADA will have its moment in the sun. It's kind of like this DO9 post right here with this chart. The next alt season may happen, start sometime in 2026 after Bitcoin tops. Alts are experiencing a pullback that is more extended than we've ever seen. I think that we're still going to have a few months window where alts like Cardano, like Chainlink will have a really, really big run up. But, it's about having that ADA to Bitcoin chart in front of my eyes It's about having that link to Bitcoin chart in front of my eyes and seeing those gains on the weekly before I can feel comfortable YOLOing out and back into Bitcoin here. I got a link to when I was, let me see. I want to see if I can find this picture of when I was thick in Discord here. I got a message. Let's see here. Pending. Where'd you send it? I want to see this, Mr. World War, because I want to see if this is the same picture when I was thick. You know, there's a shout out to that. But I'm definitely on the I'm hardcore on the the cardio movements right now. It's kind of all I've been working out on lately here. It's felt good. It's keeping me very spry, be keeping me very fit. I really want to find this. Where'd you send it to, Mr. Man? Here. We're just kind of messing around here. I really want to see this. Let me see if I got an answer from him here. Linked me to yeah, it's a bad idea to short in a macro bullish environment. That's sats and bulls. That's kind of my general sentiment right now. Once I do see the pi cycle top indicator cross, then you're going to see me shorting in the same degree as I'm longing. On altcoins especially. I think altcoins is where I'll find most of those juicy shorts at. Let's see here. I'll find this. Where is it? You tag me in it. Can't find it, buddy. Can't find it. Where did he tag me in? The blockchain basement? Oh, the Pew Pew channel? All right. We're going there. We're going to the blockchain basement Pew Pew channel here. General chat. See, I'm just snooping around here. I'm curious how fat, because I know there was one. I was like, God, I was one thick bitch there. It is what it is, though. I wonder what you're talking about here. I want to see it. I want to see that old bit, because now I'm in this mode where working out, it's when I'm trading, I basically need to work out every single day to keep those neurons firing off, to keep that basic connection of my mind to my body going. When you're trading, you have to understand that you're trading against algorithmic robots and billionaires, literal billionaires, and old Chinese whales. You have to assume pain. You have to assume that they hate you and that they want to destroy your bags. And you have to move in that fashion, because it is not easy trading Bitcoin against these types of holders and systems. Oh boy. Here we go, Isaac.
Oh yeah.
Yes. We're getting this washout, thick washout. Let's see where liquidity lives. Of course, this is happening right as I'm ending the show here. Bam. It's got some food. Just be careful here. But when I see this run out of food, I'll be able to fire one off. You know what? It's been a way that I've been able to really outpace and make my bags increase with Tether and Bitcoin in a huge way. And in this environment, yeah, I have my alts, but my latest and greatest and favorite altcoin in crypto is Bitcoin and stablecoins, Tether. So yeah, I love and appreciate you guys. We're gonna make sure to hop on over to Mr. Kelly Kellum. He's out there covering the charts, covering the pain, and giving some larger context on on-chain data. What we're seeing here, it's scary. I understand that. But if it was easy, everyone would do it. And it's not easy. When you're trading altcoins, when you're trading Bitcoin, it's not easy. And you have to have a lot of conviction in what you're doing and a lot of movement. And huge shout out to Veteran Crypto. He came on the air with me this weekend for the emergency live stream. Let's see, where is this one? Here's this emergency Trump live. Super weird live stream from Trump. Shout out to Isaac for getting the thumbnail ready, for being able to answer the call to duty over the weekend here. You're a great help to the channel here, Mr. Isaac. And people are, I'm in this mode. I'm going to miss the hell out of you when you go to the military. But it's been awesome seeing you really grow up and turn into this Giga Chad that you've become.
That's because of you, good sir. I've been radicalized by the truth himself.
Yeah, it's really been really cool to see.
Great.
I know that you're going to do great for the country out there, and you're doing the right thing. So give Isaac some plus ones in the chat.
I'll be back.
Plus
Don't
ones.
you worry.
I know we give him a lot of shit, but
it's okay. I'm here for the shit talking.
All right, guys. Well,
I'll be back. Don't you worry.
I want to find this fat picture of Drew. I want to put it next to my current picture of Drew. I'm looking for it.
I'm gonna change
Plus
it to your profile
1,000.
picture.
Well, you found it?
No.
Damn it. And I know it's probably going to be hard to call in from Iran. Okay, Isaac.
All
But
right, I'm just gonna do a vlog. Yo, we're about to drop a fucking bomb over here, guys. Plus punch in the chat if you want me to shoot my teammate.
Oh God. Well, you know what? We're gonna be back tomorrow. Maybe I'll be able to clip off a trade. If I do, I'll give the update in the Discover Investments Group trading Discord. We did just see that wash out, and I'm gonna go hit the bag about 3,000 times. So I'll see you guys real soon. Take
Later,
care.
suckers.